All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, episode 1008, Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for listening to the show, watching, however you consume this. I do appreciate you. On the video side, we are actually streaming this live tonight, as always. Today's episode is sponsored by Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, about 5 minutes or so from Highmark Stadium. Great place to get some food, have some drinks, a really great vibe. Legitimately one of my favorite places in Western New York. If you have not yet been to Sunny Reds, do yourself a solid. Go check it out. All right, man. So like I said, we are live on the video side Sunday night, which means, as always, I'm joined by my buddy down there in New York City, Joe from Queens.
Yo, I need your help because I'm doing my baseball draft right now. I don't know what I'm doing. So you got to tell me right now, who am I picking? Okay, so look, right now, sorry to commandeer this because I had to do this while driving. I need a relief pitcher. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to tell you my relief pitchers, and because you know baseball more than I do.
Not
so
really. Not anymore, bro.
Okay, do you know who
your guy?
Do you know who a C. Smith from Cleveland is?
No. Not off the top of my head. I'm not in baseball mode. Just take the highest available player, man.
Yeah, I mean that's all I can do at this point, right? I mean, this is all. Yeah. I don't know what anything is hard. This guy, Boston guy, some guy named Chapman. I'm getting from Boston.
Yeah, I think that's all different. Dude, I'm locked out of baseball mode. I can't even think about baseball at this point. I am thinking about St. Patrick's Day though. So if you're watching or listening to this on Monday, happy St. Patrick's Day to all those who celebrate. I celebrated a little bit too much.
I'm hearing Pat is very hungover today, everyone. That's the rumor on the campfire. So
I definitely am. What kind of beer you got there for this week?
So I thought about this because I got this across the street. It's Other Half, which is they do have a brewery in Buffalo of Other Half. It's originally from Brooklyn, and it's called Blue Cheese, which it's an IPA, but it's called Blue Cheese. And I was like, it's a double dry hopped. And it's blue cheese. And I was like, I'm going to drink this at Pat's podcast because I was like, blue cheese, Buffalo. I know you hate blue cheese. Or you don't like blue cheese, right? Or you're kind of...
No, I don't. I don't like blue cheese. I don't like ranch either. I don't like anything on my wings. Just the sauce, man.
So this is my drink with you, buddy.
Cheers.
Enjoy. Yes. We're... go ahead.
I was going to say, I really did suffer on Sunday. If this podcast would have been live at 2 p.m., there was no way in hell I was going to be able to do it at a house gathering. So the first war parade, yeah, well, I like them. They're fun. They're safe. The first war parade was on Saturday, which, by the way, typical Buffalo, especially this time of year, the weather, just such a tease. Friday, it was absolutely perfect out. Saturday's the first war parade, which has become kind of the biggest parade now in Buffalo. I think it's surpassed the downtown parade. But anyway, it was warm out, but then it got windy. Then it rained at some point. Then it was all right. Today on Sunday, shit weather, windy as hell, cold. Started raining really hard. I feel bad for the people if you were downtown for the parade. They're at the back end. I think they got it pretty bad. But yeah, the weather's kind of shitty anyway. Had a bunch of people over on Saturday and we had a really good time, man.
How many drinks did you drink?
I don't know.
No, I want to know. You have to know.
Too many.
Come on.
Honestly, probably. I'd say,
what were you drinking?
I was drinking, beer. I had about 6 to 8 beers, which is no big deal.
What kind of beer?
Just Bud Light. Bud Light's my shot beer. It's my shot beer. So I got 2 types of beers. If I like to go out and enjoy drinks or beers, I'll drink like blueberry or Sam Adams, cherry wheat, something like that along those lines.
Okay.
If I know I'm going to be sitting home or wherever pounding shots, then I have Bud Light just because it's a nice,
that makes sense.
Light beer. Yeah, it was the whiskey, man. Jameson was going all over the place. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend. They do car bombs because I don't like Guinness, but too many shots, man. I'm just too old for this shit.
As Danny Glover used to say, yes.
We're going to get to a bunch of stuff here today on Talking Buffalo. We're going to get a lot of Joe's reactions to the first week because you haven't been on since free agency.
Thank God I haven't been on.
We'll get your
guy. Let me tell you this, everyone. This guy asked me like 5 times last week to come on his podcast, and I was like, no, I got to watch a steel cage match tonight with CM Punk, Seth Rollins. The next night I was tired. You know, it's such a difference a couple of years makes. Before I was begging you, hey, you need me to come on? No, I got other people on. Now Now I'm like Nate Peterman on the squad when there's no other quarterbacks left at all.
Shout out to a lot of the regulars here that are live on the
Colleen's in the house.
Colleen, hi, Joe. And Joe looking handsome tonight. Look at that. Joe.
Thank you. I had to do we had to go to a couple of parties today. So I went to a kid's party and an adult party, and that was it. So I had to do my hair and kind of look not disheveled. So
we're going to get to, like I said, Joe's going to have reactions to the Bills' first week of free agency. Friday, a bombshell. Two literally brand new Bills free agents both get suspended for 6 games.
Amazing.
I haven't talked about that on the show yet. You'll have some thoughts, so we'll get to some of that as well today. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about, because I think rookies might need to have an impact on this team this season, kind of going through the recent history of what rookies have been impactful under Sean McDermott since he's taken over. 5-year anniversary, Stephon Diggs got traded for today. We'll talk about that. Joe's got a new segment. I don't even really know what it's about. We'll find out. Then we're going to debut.
Hottest segment of all time.
Yeah, and I got a Mount Flushmore today, too, in honor of St. Patrick's Day. So lots of shit to get to.
All right.
And I'm going to pull up one comment. And by the way, again, shout out to Mazvids, Mark, Roy College, a lot of the regulars. Appreciate you all being here on the live stream tonight. Chooch says, Joe said he wanted a couple of assholes. Here we are, LOL.
Did I say that? I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, you said that a couple of weeks ago. Remember we were talking about free agency?
Assholes. You're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking
like when it comes to players, like starting to take some chances.
Well, Bosa's an asshole for different reasons. I don't like the assholeness of Bosa but I'm okay into that for a different podcast. But yeah, that's fine. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, we'll get into it. You know, it's funny, Patrick. I'm going to call you Patrick. My wife made fun of me last week because I called you Patrick. I don't know why. I was like, I got to do a thing with Patrick. She's like, Patrick? I'm like, yeah, I'm calling him Patrick. I don't know why. And she made fun of me for calling you Patrick. I don't know. She gets a kick out of it. She's a weirdo. But I love her.
Let's actually, you know what? Before any of that, I got a real quick thing.
Oh, here we go.
This is me, old guy on the lawn, just yelling about shit to yell. But
yeah, you are.
Terrell Bernard on Saturday, to change his jersey from 43 to 8. It's kind of like this unveiling. You know, Bill's social media has a post about it. How do you feel about stuff like that? I think it's bullshit, and I hate it so much. Now, I'm not a jersey guy to begin with, and that is a big reason why. Is because there's so little players that you could buy a jersey from in the NFL, especially I'm talking about here, not all sports, but the NFL. There's so many or so few jerseys that you could buy and feel like you're getting real value for them for a long period of time. Guys leave and get cut all the time in football, so it's hard enough. Now, on top of guys, getting cut after 4 years of 2 years of a 4-year contract, or getting traded, shit like that, or just getting cut. Now guys are changing the freaking jersey numbers in the middle of their careers for whatever reason. I would imagine Terrell Bernard's a captain and a popular player. There's probably a lot of people, I'd say over just the last 12 months, that have bought in a Terrell Bernard 43 jersey. Hell, there might even have been a decent number of people who just bought 43 last week after he signed a 4-year extension. I'm like, oh shit, I like him. He's a good player, 4-year extension. Let's go on NFLshop.com and order that jersey right now. What the fuck? I mean, just out of the blue, I want to be number 8.
Yeah.
What do you think about something like that? I hate that. I think it's bullshit.
Before I address that, 2 people in the comments, Filthy Dollar Bills and Ralph Wilson, want to know if this tastes like blue cheese. It does not. It has a very citrusy taste to it. It's very good. I think even Patrick would like it if he had it. I'll just do a okay, so yes, I'm not a fan of changing your numbers that late into your careers. I don't know, like you're in Buffalo, I'm not. Like when you say like there's a lot of Bernard jerseys, I kind of assume there's not, but if you're telling me there are a lot of them.
Well, I'm not saying there's some. I mean, he's a captain, he's a popular player. I don't personally see a lot of them, but I'm just using him as one example. Every year, these guys change jerseys. Last year, Ron Johnson, he goes from 24 to 7. It's like these guys just change jerseys all the time. It's just, I don't know.
I think it's because they do it because they changed the rules where like single digits can now be a thing a couple years ago. So they probably like whoever number 7 was. I wasn't Matt Barkley 7, so that's probably why. Like I think Barkley was 7 for a minute. I don't remember. But they wait till like that guy leaves and like, okay, let me get that single digit. But yeah, it does suck. I mean, I feel bad for player. Like if you have these jerseys, I don't think of Bernard as being that like, oh man, so many people have Bernard jerseys. I don't think it. Now, when Jack Eichel did it, I had his 15 jersey. I had a fucking beautiful Winter Classic Jack Eichel jersey, and he went the next year to 9, and I was like, you mother effer.
That's how you feel right now. Maybe a lot of
Everyone had every Sabres fan had a Jack Eichel jersey though, bro. Like,
sure.
Not everyone has a Terrell Bernard. I mean, it's Terrell Bernard. He's still, I don't know. I don't think of Bernard as being a popular. I don't even know if it's on the team website or if it was, or you had to get it personal. Because if you get a jersey personalized, it costs more than if you got it regular. And when I say personalized, it's like one time I got my groomsman an AJ Epinesa jersey, and I had to order. I had to custom made that through Bills.com, and it was like $40 more expensive than just getting a Diggs jersey because they have so many. They don't have AJ Epinesa. Like, who the hell wants that?
I'm not a jersey guy, and I really don't know how it works per se. But what I do feel like is if you own a Terrell Bernard 43 jersey, you should be able to go to the Bills, to like the NFL, to the Bills store, and you should be able to exchange, maybe not for a free number 8 jersey, but you should be able to get it at wholesale cost or something. You should be able to get it at a chunky discount, because I just think that's wrong, man.
Well, again, I don't know how many people got those. I mean, and a guy in the chat just said he's never seen Andrew Barber said before, and you posted that he's never seen a TB jersey before. I don't know. I agree. Okay, well, if you've seen some, sure. But yes, it's kind of weird, but it is. I wish they had a deal with the Sabres. I remember when Eichel did that, because there was a lot of people pissed off, and their deal was bring the Eichel jersey in, and then you can get his new jersey for like $120, which was like $80 off. So like, that's crazy. You're spending like $290 on an Eichel jersey, basically, or one that's out of. But yeah, I mean, well, overall, aside from the jersey foul thing, what do you think about single-digit linebackers?
I hate single-digit numbers. They should be for quarterbacks, kickers, and punters. I've always been that way. It just, I don't know. I'm a traditionalist, I guess. And look, you guys are saying that I have seen a couple Terrell Bernards, but we're talking about a captain on the team. We're not talking about like Tyrell Shavers going from like number 80 to number 9 or something like that. A player that, is irrelevant to this roster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hate it. It bothers me. It's just bullshit. But let's get into the more important things here. What are your thoughts right now? What were you thinking on Friday? Before we get into like the Bills, free agent class to this point as a whole, let's start with these suspensions, because I don't know, when this come down like late afternoon on Friday, get a text. What's going on? Michael Hoecht and Ogunjobi are both suspended for 6 games. I got thoughts. I haven't talked about it yet, but I want to get yours first. So, I mean, what do you think right now? And I will point out too, for people who don't know, Brandon Beane did say on Friday, because he spoke to the media, he said he knew about Michael Hoecht. He knew that was coming down, but he had no idea about Larry Ogunjobi. So, he kind of more or less said the market's dried up, and he probably wouldn't have went that route with knowing both of them. So he admitted that he wouldn't have signed Larry Ogunjobi were it not if he known. Obviously, he didn't. They're honoring the contract. They said they're still signing him. There's just not shit out there. What are your thoughts right now when you hear about this? Like, who do you blame? How do you feel?
Sorry, have a bit of a cough. It doesn't sound great, man. And I was ready to give like Brandon Beane his flowers for this offseason. I know we're going to get into it later, but just a little tease there. I was watching the press conference live, and all of a sudden and I remember when he came out there, I think the PR person said, don't expect a marathon. Because, Brandon Beane talks for like 7 hours. That's why all the Bills bro beat love him, because they'll give him material till freaking training camp. And then I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, usually he talks forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he probably 10 minutes in, he mentioned the whole thing about them testing positive. And I was crazy that he broke the news, because usually it's like the league reports it or whatever. And, on the field, I will start off with on the field first, and then the stuff off the field. On the field, it really depends. Like, I don't know if these two guys were going to be difference makers for them, where it's like, oh man, like they're going to really miss these two guys for 6 games. And they're going to win the division still.
They're paying them like they should.
I guess. I mean, I just don't know how much it's going to really affect the wins-loss, whoever they're playing. Like, you're right. Look, if they play Kansas City the first month of the season, then I'm going to be like, oh, you idiots. But the football, part of it, it's probably not that, like a death knell, but the off the field stuff, like how do you let this happen, is just like ridiculous. And yeah, you could blame the league because the league doesn't announce it or whatever. Brandon Beane said, like, oh, the league it doesn't announce it, so it's like kind of buyer beware kind of thing. And I'm just like, well, why has this I can never ever recall this ever happening where a guy signs anywhere and it's like, oh, he tested positive and he's not going to play the first 6 games, afterwards. Like I can't
do anything either.
I can't, and it's like, what the hell? Like if you're gonna bitch about the league, and yeah, you can have some validity there, but like no other teams have fallen for it. And when you say like they knew about Hoecht, here's the thing about PEDs. Like first off, it's an easy excuse to say let's blame the trainer. Oh, the trainer gave me something I didn't like.
I didn't trust him.
That shit's been going on since they've been testing for steroids in baseball forever. It's like, oh, this is the fucking trainer, that asshole from Geico or whatever, not Geico, whatever, GNC, I don't know, whatever it's called. Like it's like whatever, and then Brandon Beane going, well, we wouldn't have signed them if we knew they had priors. It's like, well, you did sign Von Miller, who did have a PED. Like Von Miller tested positive for performance enhancing drugs like a decade ago. So it wasn't like you have brought guys over, whether you want to say, well, it was a decade ago or not, but you have brought guys over. So don't talk to me about like whether it was culture or they had a prior, so we weren't going to like touch them. It just is. It's a weird thing. And I wouldn't, for Hoecht, if they knew it, I would not have signed him. Like, why? Because first off, it's not just about missing 6 games. As I just told you, the football centric of it. Okay, hey, you missed 6 games. They'll make the playoffs still. It should be fine. But who knows how much he's been on this for? We don't freaking know. Yeah, he can come and blame the freaking the trainer or all that sort of shit. Like, we don't know. I mean, these are supposed to give you an edge. So if you get off the juice, and I don't know what kind of juice this is, this could be like your numbers could go down. You're not going to be nearly as good. Go ask Sean Merriman. When he one time I think he tested positive when he was with the Chargers. I think once, if I remember correctly, and then afterwards he was crap. Like, and I know injuries happen and all that sort of stuff, but like, I wouldn't have touched that. Like, unless, like, especially if it was like 3-4 years ago, yeah, I would say, okay, hey, he's proven himself, but you just tested positive. And that's what would worry me the most, is that he was playing well because of those. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of a little bit, fishy, and it looks bad on them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Rodman commented, we need to get away from the culture process and go get some dogs who are not pretty boys with pretty images. Let's win. I'll say this about Larry Ogunjobi. Dude, he was the Walter Payton Man of the Year this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, he really is one of those culture guys. Here's what bothers me. I don't know how it's supposed to work when you're negotiating with a free agent. I would assume go without saying that you ask, are you got any kind of PED issues or anything like all that? I don't know. It was surprising to me that he knew about Michael Hoecht, which is funny because last week on the show, literally, I was talking about this. I said, well, Michael Hoyt's so great. I kept hearing what a great chess piece he is, and I kept hearing what a freak athlete he is. I'm like, well, the Rams have plenty of cap space. Why didn't the Rams just keep him? So it's like there's a reason why he's out there. Maybe this is probably a really good reason why he's going to be suspended for 6 games. I think when something like this happens, that is without question a negative thing. There's no debating this. It's a bad thing for the Bills, okay? To what extent we can debate it, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You start to see with fans who the real homers are and who aren't. Because
they're going to blame the league. That's what they're doing. They're blaming the league.
It's that, but it's more, it's even, who cares? It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. 6 games in the NFL is the equivalent of like 29 games in the NHL or the NBA. It's a big deal. And I also don't believe, don't take for granted every year that the Bills are going to win the division or, make the playoffs, have home field advantage, stuff like that. You're just assuming like, oh, who cares? It's 6 games. Everyone says, January football is what matters. Being healthy and playing your best football. That's true. But you got to get to January. And just taking it for granted that, hey, 6 games, no big deal. The Bills are going to be fine. You can't take that for granted. You never know. The Jets, Miami, New England, any of those teams, they might be having an up year. The Bills get a couple bad breaks early on. Damn, you're fighting for your lives. So I don't assume that the Bills are going to win anything until they do. But just the fans, so many fans just talking about it not being a big deal at all. Who cares? It is. It's a big deal. They gave two guys good money to be impactful players who are going to miss a third of the season, more than a third of the season. To me, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I agree. And I still go back to my, did the PEDs help them perform? Because that's a big deal. And if they're like, and look, I don't know how long they don't test every week or anything like that. You can cycle off and etc. That to me is the biggest worry, is if their play it got enhanced, because who knows how long they were on it for? Think about, like, they could have been on it, like what are they gonna say? Oh yeah, again, I don't believe athletes. I'm sorry, especially when it comes to that shit. Okay, you're an athlete. You should know what the hell's in your thing in there, and you should go to your own trainer and go, hey buddy, like, can I take this shit? And they had their own personal ones, I guess. I don't know. It's just, and what, man of the year, like, come on, like, okay, like the hell, like, I'm not gonna lie, if I could do PEDs and get away with it, I probably would. If I'm an athlete, I don't care. Like, you pay me money, I'm gonna be great. If I can get away with it, bye. And obviously that's my biggest concern, is that they've been on it for a while, and I don't know how this could have been avoided, because as I told you, I cannot recall this ever happening. Two guys, and the one thing Beane, and look, I think Beane has done he's done a good job. Look, I can't shit on the guy. Like, we can look with first rounders, things like that. But there's one thing, he just talks so much. And sometimes I'm just like, dude, you're full of shit. Like, we couldn't get another defensive tackle because the free agency crop thinned out. Buddy, you have 2 second rounders. Use one of your second rounders and go trade for a fucking defensive tackle or something like that. Like, like, it feels like you just panicked. You're like, the hell with this, we're just gonna keep going, and that's it. And it just was a weird thing to say and do, and I don't know, sometimes it just feels like they just didn't know what they kind of were. They didn't do enough research. And I hate to bring this up, but I will. With Punt God, that idiot, I know nothing really happened with that afterwards, but they had been tipped off like 2 months in advance about that, and they did nothing about it. They didn't do any research or anything like that. And I wonder if, like, they're doing enough research or anything like that. Because how does this happen? Again, Pat, we have never, ever, you and I are old motherfuckers, okay? And not to swear, but I did. We are old people. Like, I remember everything pretty well. So do you. I can't recall this ever happening with two guys, you sign them, and they test positive right when you get them. And one of them you find out about.
Before their intro press conferences. Like,
yeah.
They didn't speak to the media yet when, yeah, it's wild, man. It's a bad look no matter what way you look at it. Patrick, not me, another Patrick has a comment in the chat. I'm going to bring it up in a minute because we're going to talk about him specifically, but there's just no way to say that it's not a bad look. And Roy Collins in the live chat said, just hit the draft for the good defensive tackle, and these suspensions won't really matter. Look, you could go draft the next Aaron Donald in the draft, and it's still going to matter to me. You signed two guys who were suspended. One of them you knew about, one of them you didn't. They're going to miss 6 games. 6 games is a big deal. Look, 6 games where you're already going to be hurting with depth on the defensive line. And that's assuming everyone stays healthy. Somebody's going to get hurt at some point. You know what I mean? These are going to be guys, you're going to miss them over the course of the first 6 games. So for fans out there that are just downplaying it like it's no big deal, that really annoys me and gets under my skin. Let's move beyond the suspensions, Joe, before we get to a break here. What's been your reaction to just free agency as a whole? We've already talked about these guys. You got Joey Bosa, obviously, he's the big one. They brought back Dane Jackson to play corner. At least for right now. He's not my boy. At least for right now. I do like him, though. I think he's a pretty good signing, but not if he's a starter. But anyway, Dane Jackson is back. Josh Palmer on the offensive side of the ball. He took a flyer on Laviska Shenault. Bosa, obviously, the big one. A couple of re-signings. Ty Johnson is the big one, I think. And Damar Hamlin, surprisingly. Matt Collins, your boy, is with the New England Patriots now. Yeah. That's a surprise to me. What's been your general reactions right now to free agency over this first week?
Up until the stupid suspensions, I was pretty happy with it, to be honest. I did not expect much. I said last week I didn't expect them to really do much of anything. I thought they would get some role guys. The Bosa signing surprised me. That, to me, is the X factor. And it's a ballsy decision to do that. I don't know if I would have done that because, like, look, it's $12.5 million. You're getting a guy who, for the last 4 years, just has not been the same as he was the first 4 years of his career. And I know last year, like you can find the Nerdalytic stats that say he was good in one-on-one pressure. I don't know. Sometimes those stats, I always get a little bit scared because it's like, well, what, you and I have watched enough football. Like, there are instances where offensive linemen let guys go past them because they're doing a bootleg to the other side. They're like, hey, go past me, and things like that. Does that count as you defeated the offensive tackle when they purposely are letting you go by? So, you and I we like our box scores, and he hasn't really matched that at all. And, I've seen not a lot of comments, but like, it's not a low risk, high reward situation. When you spend $12.5 million on a guy, that's a high risk. That money could go to anyone else, and it's not like, you're waiting. If he's terrible, then you could have put that somewhere else and you're kind of screwed. But with Bosa, like, maybe he recovers, maybe the trainers, whoever the hell they're going to be, because I don't think they've announced who their new trainers are yet. Maybe they're going to like help him out a little bit more, but
they did announce it actually this weekend. I don't know who it is. It was somebody who worked under Siano, though. I know that. I don't remember who his name is.
All right, whatever. So they got Mr. Miyagi as trainer, whatever. Okay, so unless the guy is Mr. Miyagi, like, I do have, like, it's an X factor. Like, yeah, it'd be great if what it was 4 or 5 years ago. But how many guys can you think of who, have had that long of they can't stay healthy, and then they all of a sudden they just join the founding youth and they're fine. I think the best case scenario with Bosa is he's honestly going to be what Von Miller was probably last year, a little bit of that. And I know, like, the metrics liked Von Miller, even though you and I watched games and we were like, where the hell is this guy? And then, like, the nerdy stats liked him. And I'm like, okay, great. But, Bosa's a guy that we'll see what happens. Like, yeah, if he's healthy and he can play more than, snaps, he only played like, what, 50, 60% of snaps last year. That to me is the X factor. Hoecht is interesting. I know your boy Eric Turner had said like he's Lorenzo Alexander, which I'm sure made everyone kind of very happy because no one heard of this guy probably beforehand except a couple of the content bros. That sounds great, but then it's like, well, if he's Lorenzo Alexander, like, how is he going to play? Because when Lorenzo Alexander played, he was the third linebacker. There is no third. It's Johnson's the linebacker, that third one. So it's like, where is he going to fit if you're going to have him in? Is he going to be a primary rusher on third down? Is going to be a part of that? I mean, he's going to be part of that 12 defensive line rotation of doom probably. But how much can he play if he does play linebacker at times? It's like they don't usually play 3 linebackers, and I don't think you're and maybe he's a insurance for Milano maybe or Bernard. That can make sense obviously in terms of they can put him back there. And then the Palmer, yeah, the Chargers guy. Again, the fancy stats. Oh, he had all this separation. It's like, well, yeah, that's great, but he's had more than 40 catches once in his career, and he had Justin Herbert, who's not a bum. He's a hell of a quarterback. So I know I just said I liked what he did, and I do like it, but I don't think it's like the greatest of all time. Like they are better on paper than they were at the end of last year, so I should commend them. I don't know why I'm shitting on them. Maybe I'm just tired. Dad brain will just say that, but. There's question marks, but I'm satisfied overall. What about you, Patrick?
I'm not a big fan of this free agency period.
Oh, really? Okay.
Keeping it real, man. And look, I sat here a year ago and said the same shit. Like, oh my God, this is doom. They're getting rid of all these guys. They ain't signing shit. I laughed at Matt Collins. Matt Collins turned out to be a damn.
You didn't laugh. You liked Matt Collins. Wait.
All right, laugh.
You liked him. You liked him.
Okay. He was more than I even thought he was going to be this year. My point is last year at this time, I felt the same way that I do. I think Bosa's, he's too much of it's too high risk and too much of a gamble. By the way, shout out Rodman in the chat said Bosa is a Con Miller size gamble. I never heard the word Con Miller. I've used Scam Noonan a lot, but never Con Miller. That's
I just hope Colleen realizes that I have been positive more than Pat has. So she should be on your ass right now about being negative. Because I said this free agent class was nice. They have some blemishes. You're like, I'm not impressed.
What I think Bosa's too much of a gamble. I think the injury history is just too damn relevant. It's like Josh Norris, who just got traded to the Sabres. He's already hurt. He's a great talent, but he's hurt again. Yeah. Injured guys who are injury prone get injured. There's a reason why they're injury prone. This guy is like an old 29 going on 30 years old or whatever he is. It feels like because of all the injuries. That said, if this is a good fit for him because he ain't got to go out there and play, even if he's fully healthy from day one, he ain't going to play 70% of the snaps. He's just not going to. He's going to get ramped up. He'll be a 45 to 55% snap player. He could be Leonard Floyd 2 years ago, but a better run defender. So, I mean, there is upside. He's a talented player, and it's a 1-year contract, so I don't mind that at all. Bosa of the signings is not the one that annoys me the most. The Michael Hoecht one, I talked to some Rams people. They said, pretty much solid player, nothing spectacular, useful, solid. When it comes to Larry Ogunjobi, this is the one that continues to surprise me. And this is like even before the suspension. And I got a couple people here in the live chat right now or watching Talk of Buffalo live here. Patrick Carroll says, I live in Pittsburgh and listen to the locals here. Ogunjobi sucks. And then Ralph Wilson, I forgot about this, but yeah, Ogunjobi was suspended for cheap shot and Mason Rudolph from behind during the Myles Garrett helmet swinging fiasco. Man of the year. My ass. All right, this isn't a shit on Larry Ogunjobi podcast.
I'll say this about him real quick. I texted my friend who's a Steelers fan, and he's pretty even keel. He's not a dickhead like me. He was not happy with him last year either. He said but the premise is they run a 3-4 defense. Yeah, maybe he was out of position.
Sure, I get it, and I do have some level of faith in Brandon Beane. I think he's earned some level of trust that this doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but it'll work out. I mean, the suspension, puts a big damper on it. But anyway, so they revamped the defensive line, but none of those guys are by any means sure things. I do like the Josh Palmer sign because I do think he's a fit. And there's also cases sometimes where players younger and they're just in a system. Like he was stuck on the depth chart. He was behind Michael Williams and Keenan Allen. He wasn't going to get a lot of opportunities there for his first 3 years.
But they were gone last year, and he didn't really do much.
I go out, Lamb McConkey emerged. Look, he's not a number one receiver.
Sure. Look, I get what he does. Like they're like, oh, he matches. But here's the problem right now. I can see with the passing game, you have a lot of guys that it's going to be hard to separate themselves from each other. Where we're going to have so many different packages coming on the field. Like you're going to have the 12 personnel. Then we're going to have two wide receivers. Then we're going to have a fullback in. Then who's going to be our 3 or 4 guys? I told you, like, one topic I wanted to do was, like, there's 3 minutes left in the game. You're down by 4. Who do you roll out there as your skilled guys on offense? It's not an easy task to come up with because it's like, what? You're just going to have Kincaid, and you have Coleman, and you have Shakir. Yeah. Then who are your other 2 guys? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like a lot of like they have like a lot of their mid-tier guys who are like, okay, who's gonna step up? Like, and that's I think the bigger issue. Like, look, did I want studs like in terms of like there's things I think the Bills miss is what they needed this offseason is and it's easier said than done. They needed like all pros. They needed like Pro Bowl, like legit Pro Bowl caliber guys who are going to be difference makers. Who they've signed are not difference makers. They are role guys. They fill needs, I think. But collectively, are they going to be like better than other teams? That's going to be the big question. Like we went from Myles Garrett to Max Crosby fantasy world for a month to mid guys for the most part.
Well, sure. But I'll say this too. Free agency with the Bills for the most part has always been role player type signings that end up working out and contributing in a good.
I wouldn't say they all work out. I wouldn't say that
most of them have worked out. They've been pretty good with free agency when it comes to those type of players. Look, I said it before. The reason why the Bills were so great last year, aside of course from Josh Allen, these role players, Mac Hollins, Ty Johnson. There were so many guys.
Well, Ty Johnson was there before. I mean, in terms of like free agency, like MVS didn't do shit. Like they cut ass. I don't think it's as great as you're making it out to be.
I'm trying to tell you why I thought the Bills were so good last year. Beyond Josh Allen being MVP, it's because of these less heralded players that just came up big so many times. Cam Lewis, when he had to step up, he did a really good job. Just players like that. Like I said, Ty Johnson, Mac Hollins, the offensive line, David Edwards was awesome as a guard this year, not a big name, free agent. So I'm just saying that those types of guys, the unheralded guys, had big roles in the Bills just being good. I just told you 2 minutes ago, I don't love this free agent class. I think there's more questions than answers between Ogunjobi and Joe Bosa with his health. Michael Hoyt will be fine. I mean, he'll be what he is, and which is a perfectly fine player. Dane Jackson is your, for the moment, starting corner. I like the Palmer signing. I think this is going to be an opportunity where his best football may be ahead of him in this system where he has a skill set that the other receivers don't really have as much. Laviska Shenault, just a pure flyer. He's probably this year's Chase Claypool or MVS or KJ Hamler, a former high pick who's a name that just gets cut at training camp. I think most people look at that the same way. Now, free agency isn't over, but the Bills don't have a lot of cap room. I wonder, before we get to a break here real quick, do you think that these suspensions, even though it does hurt the cap, but look, they could still do shit if they want to. Do you think these suspensions will make them do something different with this roster that they probably wouldn't have done before that? Or do you just say, fuck it, we're just going to draft?
I think they're going to say, F it, we're going to draft. Maybe the first month of the season, if they see some holes, maybe they'll make a trade, you know, and like do some sort of deal maybe. And like, look, we know like these are all defensive line issues, right? We know they love having 500 defensive linemen. They can always use more. So in case they feel like whoever they're bringing in, like if Dwayne Carter isn't good, or if they draft a guy in the first round and they say, hey, we're going to put you in there and we'll see what happens. I could see them being like, let's make a trade in like September or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Let's, on the video side, we'll be back in literally like 5 seconds. All right, back here, Joe from Queens. We were going over Bills free agency to this point. I think that because of the suspensions, when they were first signed, I was like, maybe this might be the beginning of the end for AJ Epinesa or maybe for DaQuan Jones. But I think those guys definitely stay in tow now here for another year. 5-year anniversary, by the way, and I noticed this on Sunday. I know you've been out going to parties, so I don't know how much you've been on the old social media apps, but
I haven't.
Well, okay. Well, today was the 5-year anniversary where the Bills traded for Stefon Diggs. Just want to throw that out there. And also of note, not important, probably a troll, just because that's what Stefon likes to do, having a little fun, cryptic shit. But he took all of his former Bills photos of him that he once deleted or archived from Instagram and put them up today. And that has gotten Bills Twitter buzzing about the possibility of Stefon Diggs returning to the Buffalo Bills. Look, I don't know who it's going to be. It might be a no-name, a couple draft picks. The Bills are going to sign another receiver. I'm telling you now, it's going to happen. I don't think they're done at wide receiver. Anyway, Stefon Diggs fucking around on the IG there with his picks. You make anything of that? Do you think there's any opportunity? You think there's any realistic chance that Stefon Diggs returns to the Buffalo Bills? I at least got to ask you. Yeah. No.
I mean, it's not happening. Look, I love the dude, but he's out on an ACL injury. That kind of disqualifies him a little bit for me. And they hate him. He didn't like them. I mean, look, could they have a come to Jesus meeting and he go, I'm sorry or whatever? No, he's just messing with people. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe his social media manager changed it up and wanted to show people. But, he doesn't have that many highlights from Houston because he was only there for like 5 minutes or whatever. So.
Well, I will say this, though, Joe. I looked it up because everybody is saying that Stefon Diggs, not everybody, a lot of people on social media are saying Stefon's washed. And I'm like, maybe because the
ACL is bad.
It could. Now, I will say, though, also, I saw a video of him working out with Geno Smith, and he was doing cuts. Like, he didn't look fast. I'm not going to go there and say that, but he was doing a lot more than I would have expected him to do so soon after an ACL. But for the whole Stefon Diggs is washed up crowd, I'll say this. He played 7 games plus last year. Got hurt in game 8. 7+ games. 47 catches for 496 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was on pace for over 90 catches and 1,000 yards last year with Houston. And he played good against the Bills in that week 5 game. He had 6 catches for 82 yards that game. He was a factor in that game. That 2020 to 2022 Stefon Diggs, I think, is gone. But he's still a useful receiver. If one team in the league is going to get somebody next year in Stefon, who I think is at least useful and serviceable, I think it'd be fun. I do agree. A lot of people are saying in the chat too right now. Sean McDermott, him and Stefan had some beef, man. It's just
that's not happening.
You think it's this locker room though? This team? Do you think that it's mendable? Is this like WWE?
No,
WWE, anything can happen. Never say never. Stone Cold came back. Hogan came back. These guys leave in these feuds. They with Vince and they came back. You just don't think there's any
it's Randy Savage, Vince McMahon, buddy. It's not happening. Okay, that's where it's at. Okay, it's not happening. If he was healthy, it's not happening. I don't even believe you that they're going to go out and get another wide receiver. I think they're done. Like they want to spread the ball around. They love Dawson Knox. They got to get They got to get the fat guy package on the field. They run the football now. The days of that 3-4 wide receiver set that I used to love and couldn't wait to see, it's over. And I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I've missed it a little bit, but no, he's not coming back. You're just bored. You and the content bros are just like you just need more stuff to talk about and chirp. It's not happening. He's gone. They put $31 million on the freaking dead cap because they hated him so much. It's not happening. Let me just say this real quick. Can I go back to the free agency thing? One quick. I'm happy how active they were because I do think they were active. And I also think it's a good way to figure out how good Brandon Beane is at his job. Because to me, this might be their best free agent class since 2019. And I say that in terms of like, yeah, Von Miller was the big splash guy 2-3 years ago. But they didn't get as many guys as they have this offseason with paying them. And I think it's a good way to assess, like, okay, let's see how good you are as a talent evaluator. Because it's easy for me to take a dump on James Hardy or Trent Sherfield. Like, those guys are just guys you brought in. Yeah, maybe they were going to be good. But come on, you were paying them nickel and dime. Like, they weren't, like, whatever. Like, they're paying these guys okay money, like you had said. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it does. Because we've been shitting on Beane's first-round picks for a little while now, at least until the end of the season ended, because they all, like, it's been hard for me to really go after his free agents because at times they're not really that active, or they get just guys like, and there's like, what do you expect? Like, I'm not going to expect James Hardy to be really good or Sherfield be good or any of that. But now they put money into these guys, and I feel like this is where we're going to be able to assess how good Brandon Beane is as a talent evaluator, because it's been a while since they've had guys who you're like, hey, you're paying a decent amount of money. This guy has to be good. This isn't MVS making $2 million or something. Like, who cares? Like, these are guys making okay money. What do you think? Am I wrong in this? Like, this is a pinnacle. This is big for him, for us to really assess how good he is as a talent evaluator.
Sure. This year will go a long way towards that. And to your point, so the way they went with the defensive line overhaul between Bosa, who's going to have load management no matter what, and then now two guys, not one, but two guys who are going to miss. I keep saying 6 games like it's not a big deal, like, because it doesn't sound like a big deal. So I'm going to say for now on, 2 guys who are suspended for at least a third of the season. That is a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Point being is this. What he does in the draft this year is going to be important because impactful rookies for this team, especially probably on the defensive line, maybe a couple other positions, are going to be important. They're going to have to play and be effective early. This past year, this class might turn out to be great, but Keon Coleman was very pedestrian. Now, injury played a role. Cole Bishop didn't start, got hurt in the summer, pedestrian. Dwayne Carter got hurt, pedestrian. You know what I mean? They're going to need more from rookies, I think, this year. And I kind of went through, and I'll do this quickly here, impactful rookies during the Sean McDermott era and who's been counted on to step up early and play a role on this team. And there's been a decent amount of them going back to 2017. Trey White, Deion Dawkins were rookies. Deion started all 16 games that year. Trey had 4 interceptions. He was second in AP Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2017. He was great as a rookie. You look at the Bills right now, boy, oh boy, would it be great to find the next Trey White at the end of the first round who could start right away at corner. 2018, Josh Allen goes without saying. Jermaine Edmonds, 15 starts, 2 interceptions, 121 tackles as a rookie. So he was effective right away. 2019, Ed Oliver, Devin Singletary. Ed Oliver had 5 sacks, 43 tackles. He started 7 games, so about half the season. Singletary actually had a good rookie year. Ran for 775 yards, and he had just under 200 yards receiving. Gabe Davis had a pretty good rookie year, 2020. 35 catches, 600 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2021, Groot and Spencer Brown. Spencer Brown started 10 games. He was all right. Crazy. Groot started every game, 50 tackles, 4 sacks. And then 2023, you had Kincaid and Torrance. Torrance started all 17 games as a rookie. Kincaid was phenomenal as a rookie. 73 catches, 673 yards. Hugely prolific year for a rookie tight end. They're going to get a guy at 30 and maybe 56 and 62 as well. If they keep those picks, I think they're going to have one or two guys, especially whether it's a corner or a defensive lineman. The way things stand right now, those guys are going to have to be impactful as rookies.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do. I mean, you've read some guys, but I feel like their better guys were in the beginning of the McDermott era when this roster wasn't as talented. And I feel like those guys came through because it was who was Trey White beating? He was beating EJ Gaines, and I don't even know. Wasn't Ronald Darby there? And then he got traded. Like, you know, it wasn't hard to beat those guys out. I think that's kind of a little bit of the issue at times. And look, they do have those, like, you know, Cody Ford, you know, he had started his rookie year and he was terrible. And like but they kept him in. Like, he started that whole season and they switched him to left tackle the next year. Then he lost his job, you know, in 2020. I think Feliciano took over for him. Yeah, look, it would be nice if they had some guys that would come in there. But I think it's about who's on the depth chart to come in. But you're right. Look, with those two, you know, those defensive tackle, line, whatever those positions are, because they're multiple. Yeah, if they go defensive line, then yeah, in the draft, yeah, those guys can come in. But they have had it is impossible for me to predict like who is going to be an impact guy for them as a rookie, because it is all or nothing. That has been it. It's all or nothing for the rookie classes under McDermott. It's either you redshirt or you're really good and you hook up and you're like, hey, you're a good first year guy. Like, I didn't expect you to do this, or you're a redshirt. You know, and that's
I want to tell you all about a huge event coming up, world's largest 80s parties, Saturday night, April 5th at Stolat on Transit Road in Williamsville. Everyone loves the 80s and a great 80s party, and this will definitely be the one you don't want to miss. Buffalo Joe and Andreessen and Channel 4 news anchor Kelsey Anderson are your hosts for the evening. DJ Anthony from Kiss 8.5 will be in the house, and Nerds Gone Wild takes the stage at 8:30 p.m. There'll be a costume contest. Costumes are not mandatory, but highly encouraged. There'll be tons of cool backdrops for photos and also free parking outside, by the way. The event starts at 7:30 p.m. and $15 get you in the door with a general admission ticket. There's limited VIP tickets left for $75, and those include 3 hours of premium open bar, food all night, your own private area, and admission to the event 30 minutes earlier at 7 p.m. And the best thing about all this is that this 80s Bash is raising money for 2 amazing charities, for pediatric cancer, for the Shine Gold campaign, and also raising money for Claudia's Club, which helps those with disabilities in Western New York. You can get tickets at Hope Rises Network on Facebook or Instagram, or go to hoperisesnews.com. I can't wait to be there for this event. Hope to see you all there as well. I totally cut you off there. To get to the ad read. 80s Bash coming up April 5th, man. If you live in the area, go get some tickets. It's going to be a really good time.
Yes, thank you, 80s. The 80s are great. I don't even know what my point was, but the 80s were great. I agree. I don't know, Joe. We should be hosting it. They should have had us. Like, we're old. We're
Joe Andreessen and Kelsey Anderson, and interesting.
Buffalo Joe. It's a good
drama. Yeah, I'll tell you what, he's a really popular dude, man. Very well.
I know you love him. You can't wait to get him on your podcast. I
might be having him on later this month to promote beforehand. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so where was I getting at? Yeah, so the rookies, it's impossible to pick if they're going to contribute or not. It's just impossible. It's either all or nothing. I think you just have to look at what the depth chart is for whoever they go in the first, second round. You know, if they go cornerback and they don't get a veteran, like I know you want one, then yeah, I can see that cornerback starting day one. But if they get an edge rusher, it's going to be a lot harder. you know, for him to start to really contribute.
Agreed.
So.
It's gonna go down to where they draft guys. A corner in round 1, they'll have a great chance to start right away. Defensive line, they'll be part of the rotation. But anyway, all right, let's get to a new segment. I don't even know what we're doing here, but this is like you're explaining to people. What are we doing here?
All right. So basically, it's true or false. I'm going to read a statement to Pat. There are 6 categories. They're going to be the Bills. I'm bringing it up on my phone. The Bills, the Sabres, television, movies, music, and then a bonus question, which is going to be a bonus. I'm going to pull it out of my ass for the week.
Okay.
And that's it. So
and this is true or false for me to answer.
Yeah. So it's going to be a statement from me, and then you're going to go false or true. Okay. All right. So this is for the Bills.
Okay.
The Bills will win the Super Bowl within the next 5 years. True or false?
I think it's true.
You're such a homer, pandering.
I'm not a homer. I get that. I am
pandering, Pat.
I'm not pandering, Pat. I think it's true. Sooner or later, they're going to break through. I wouldn't even say 5 years. I'd say 2. I think they got 2 to 3 years of the best version of Josh Allen to win it, and they're going to.
Right.
So anyway, true.
All right, everyone, go place your bet. Pat's got them winning the Super Bowl. He's gonna get so wasted. God, if they win the Super Bowl, we're gonna have to like put like a suicide watch on you or something. Not suicide watch. Like you're gonna get alcohol poisoning.
Remember when I had a blog and I used to get drunk lie
the draft? Yes, I remember that. I ran one of those once.
Videos. Yeah, it was like the old school typing in the live chats on a blog. I got drunk and did that for the draft. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
Okay, true or false?
Okay.
Within the next 3 years, Deline will ask for a trade.
Is things stand right now true?
True.
I think so. He's at phase 1 right now. He cares and he's frustrated. At some point, you stop caring and you realize that it ain't gonna happen here. It's true unless Terry Bagula fires Kevin Adams this summer. I'd say 2 years. You said 3, right?
Yeah, I said 3 within the next 3.
I'm gonna say 2 years. And real quick commentary here. So the answer is true. I talked about this with Chris Ostrander on the show Friday. I'm starting to feel really bad for Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin. These dudes are great players, and we should be celebrating them a hell of a lot more. And they are just absolutely rotting away in a shithole cesspool of an organization run by a joke of leadership, ownership, and management. But anyway, my answer is true. As things stand right now, the trajectory says he will eventually ask for a trade. He cares. At some point, he might not as much.
I think they're screwed. He's going to ask for one. I just have no confidence in the Sabres at all. Okay, television.
Okay.
True or false? The Sopranos The Sopranos is the best TV show of all time.
True.
Okay.
There we go.
What? Full House?
I love it because it really depends. For a
no, it's true or false. There is no in between. True or false?
I'm going to say true, but I also think The Office is just as good in a different way.
Sure.
But true.
Okay.
It's false. I think The Office.
False. Oh my God, this guy
changed my mind. I think The Office is the best TV show ever for lots of reasons. Maybe we'll get in them another day, but I'm going to say false because of The Office. Sopranos is right there though.
But that's number 2 then, would you say?
Yes.
Okay. I would say it's number 1 show of all time. I think it's that and Breaking Bad afterwards.
Tooch agrees with you. Says Sopranos is the GOAT.
Tooch, I wanted to do a live or like a recap of like us watching it together and recap every episode, and Pat said no. Sucks. He doesn't know what ratings are. Okay.
Right.
Movies. Rocky 2, true or false? Rocky 2 is the best Rocky movie.
False.
Oh, okay.
False. For me, it's Rocky 3.
Rocky 3.
Got the new character, the bad guy with Clubber Lang. You got Mickey dying, which was the most emotional, I think, thing that happened in all the Rockies. You got the 2 rivals coming together in training to defeat the big bad enemy. So that was awesome. Eye of the Tiger, the soundtrack was awesome. Although Rocky 4, the best soundtrack. But just so many things happened in Rocky 3. Rocky 2 was incredible. Great storytelling, but it's old. I feel like it's kind of more dated too. Like a lot of shit, you can watch it today. Like if my son watched it, younger people, you'd watch Rocky 2 and be like, yo, that's just boring. They're like, nothing happened for like a full hour. He loses the fight. He wants to retire. he ends up coming back and fighting again. It was the great Rocky 2 was the best fight. Like the rematch with him and Apollo was the best fight, but I think Rocky 3 is the best one. So I'm gonna say false.
Yeah, I think Rocky 2 is because it to me, Rocky is 1 and 2 are the best, and it's just those two together are the movie. Like it ends like it. Those are like 1A, 1B because they're together. Whereas everything else afterwards felt like a spin-off, and we got to kill characters off to make you pay attention.
Hulk Hogan and Rocky 3.
Yeah, and like Rocky 3
more commercial too.
And
a lot more commercial.
Yeah, and I felt bad when Mickey died. Like it was a great scene, but it's sad. Like
cry.
sad.
If I right now, I would cry right now every single time. All right.
Okay, so music. True or false? Thriller is the best album of all time.
True.
All right.
True.
I know you pretty well. What's your favorite song on that album?
Beat It or Billie Jean? Flip a coin.
Thriller's
awesome. PYT is awesome. Human Nature is awesome. There's just Wanna Be Starting Something. It's got the killer beat. It's just an incredible from head to toe. Just an amazing, amazing album. Changed music. He changed the world in the early 80s. People all over the place were wearing Michael Jackson's pleather. I'll say pleather because most people couldn't afford the leather. The pleather jackets and the pants. I did. I had me a Michael Jackson pleather jacket. Yeah, that was
talented man.
Yeah, that was the best one. Right.
All right. And the last one. This is a bonus. This is like a random category, and I'm just gonna pull out of my ass. True or false? You have eaten Buffalo Wild Wings within the last 10 years.
True.
You. Buffalo. Well, that's you should just close up your little wing blog. That is disrespectful to the wing culture.
Oh, well, I'm going to say true in Florida because I've had it in Florida. There's not a lot of good wing spots in Florida, but 10 years, I think I've had it in Buffalo. The McKinley Mall area had a Buffalo Wild Wings location. We used to go up there every month. We used to go there for WWE pay-per-views, and we would party. We'd go there, we'd get wings, have some beers, and watch the pay-per-views there and have a big old party. I don't know if it's been 10 years. It might have been 10 years since then. So I don't know.
Why didn't you try? Why didn't you go? I've been telling Pat he needs to go to like these terrible places to go get wings. Like go to Olive Garden and get wings there, or there's no Red Lobster anymore. But go to these places, these chain places, Fridays. We need to find out like what that needs to be the next mountain you climb. The chain restaurants for wings. That's what you need to climb next. Yeah. Just see like the West, like that's what you should do. Like go to Applebee's, go to freaking there. I'm gonna try these wings because you know what? I bet you there's more people who love all those stupid wings. They all like want to have their cred and like, I got a bar bill. I bet you those losers, they're going to Applebee's, Fridays. They're going there because they have kids. Like when you have kids, let me tell you something. When you have kids and you're like trying to get to a kid-friendly place, you're going to chain restaurants because they're friendly because they want families. And you're like, okay, I'm going here. I don't give a shit. And there are people in Buffalo who have families. I bet you those wing people are going to those. That needs to be your next countdown. The wings at chain restaurants, all of them. McDonald's probably has wings. Who knows? I think you should do that. A Wild Wings just opened around the corner for me, by the way. I've not gone there yet.
Colleen says Anchor Bar is the best wings in Buffalo. Barville close second. That's a rare take. I respect it. Look, you got to respect the OG being.
Everyone hates it though in Buffalo. It's very like cliche to hate that place
because it got overexposed. Everybody who came into Buffalo, like movie stars, TV people to cover games, they would tweet or put out pictures of them being at. Everybody went to Anchor Bar. It was the must place or the must stop place in Buffalo for wings. And there's just so many places, in my opinion, anyway, that are a lot better. Let's do I want to do a Mount Flushmore. I got my own here. Okay.
Wait, real quick. Did you like my segment?
Yeah, I did like it.
Did you like it? We could do it again. Everyone, Pat shoots down my ideas all the time. So
yeah, I like it too because it gets people, are listening or watching the show live, at least on the side.
Yeah, and I try to because I know you like to talk about other things. It's at the end, and I threw some music in for you.
And speaking of, like I said, I want to have a Mount Flushmore today. So in honor of this being St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to give you my Mount Flushmore, which, by the way, means the worst of, not the best. The Mount Flushmore of Patrick's, and not me. I'm
you're
not
number one. You're on my list.
One of them because I know you would put me on the Mount Flushmore if it was your list. I got 4, so my Mount Flushmore of Patrick's.
Where's your graphic? You don't have your graphic?
No, I don't need no graphic.
You had the flush thing before. Okay, fine.
Nah, do you want if it means that much to you?
Yeah, I like that.
I can put up the graphic if you want to see the.
Yes, I'll delay it. I like that.
There it goes. All right, there it is.
I love it.
My Mount Flushmore Patrick's. All right, ready? Number 1, Patrick Mahomes, obvious reasons. Absolutely hate him. Not greatness, obviously, but Patrick Mahomes has really kept the Bills out of the Super Bowl multiple times. So I got Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Dempsey, Dr. McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy. Fucking hated that guy on that show, Mr. Superiority, undertones, talking to everybody like he was smarter than everyone else on that show. I just didn't like him. I didn't like him when he was a teenager either. When Money Can't Buy Me Love. By the way, we're talking about 80s earlier.
And Lover Boy or whatever the pizza.
Yeah. He hires to be a cool kid. The girl
extra anchovy.
Treated her like kind of shit. So fuck him. I don't like Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Buchanan, the old school crazy ass Republican politician who had the 700 Club or whatever it was on TV, that religion TV show that seemed to be everywhere when I was a kid. So that show sucked. So Pat Buchanan is on the list. And then my last one is going to be Patrick Kane. And a lot of people, hockey people in South Buffalo might want to jump me for this, but he's a douchebag. He's a notorious, you don't know about the cab incident and stuff. And look, maybe grown up, but he's also a notorious no-tipper as well, too.
Oh, man.
Out there. Some people in some South Buffalo restaurants that have served Patrick Kane a good amount of food, and let's just say he's not very generous with the tips. So
has he gone back to Buffalo at all? Like since the rape thing, does he go back ever or no?
Yeah. Right. As far as I think so.
But you're not. I could have sworn he doesn't go back anymore because I remember after all that shit, they were like, "You're not going back there." And they said so. I don't know if
sure.
I've had
going back to the wing thing real quick. Sure. Our colleague comments just says he lives in Michigan, but she's from Buffalo and always loved the anchor wings the most. It's just my opinion, I guess. Look, literally, food is subjective. It's everyone's opinion. There's no right or wrong. If you love Wild Acre Bar, that's your spot. It's awesome. That's awesome. Right. Mark say is Mount Flushmore is so cheesy. I don't know if I hate it or I love it. All right, well, that was my Mount Flushmore anyway. Pat Mahomes, Pat Dempsey. What does it take? 3 minutes? Pat Buchanan, Pat Kane. I'll give you a bonus. Let me give you a Mount Rushmore of Patrick's too. Give me now or Pat's, we should say. I'm going to flip it. Pat Benatar, 80s music again. Favorite singers of all time. I was in love with Pat Benatar when I was growing up. She's on my Rushmore. Pat Sajak, great.
What? Okay, time fucking out. So if you were gonna give me a volley and go he was gonna be on my Flushmore. That guy sucks. Pat Sajak. If you listen, my wife and I, before we had a kid, we would have Wheel of Fortune on in the background. That dude, when he goes, so Cliff, you're from Cheektowaga, New York, and you sell fucking sewing machines. You can tell he has no interest in Cliff's sewing machines. He does not care. He's a dick. His fucking daughter is like the social media person who's like 22. Nepotism, hello. Pat Sajak sucks. He would be number 1 on my flop next to you. Actually, number 2, because you're 1. Pat Sajak sucks. That's embarrassing, Pat Sajak.
All right, well, he's on my list. Piss off. Pat LaFontaine on my Mount Rushmore, one of my favorite hockey players of all time. Loved watching him play. And then I'm an old school guy. I grew up, I remember watching football broadcasts. It was my favorite thing. Pat Summerall. John Madden, best broadcasting team of my lifetime anyway. So
okay,
that was my Mount Rushmore. I got a bonus one too, huh?
Okay, because I Googled like famous Patricks because I just wanted to look into it. No Patrick Swayze?
Nah, I like it.
I would think Dirty Dancing, like the 80s.
I like Dirty Dancing. I also liked Roadkill. So he could have been on there for sure.
Pat Morita, come on, Mr. Miyagi. I mean, you love. Yeah. When the hell are we going to review like Cobra Kai? It's going to be like 7 years.
Coming up soon. Okay, we'll be doing that soon. But anyway,
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, I was a Knicks fan too.
You're a Knicks fan. Oh, yeah. Pat McAfee, Pat Riley. Okay, that's it.
Now there's a lot of Patricks. None better than myself. Anyway, let's wrap up with
lie. It's false.
I'm going to get to a couple comments here. People have been on the live leaving a lot of comments, really good interactions. And plus, if you're watching this, like say you're on Twitter or something and you can't comment, you go to YouTube next time, because besides listening to our conversation, there's usually some good sub conversations in the live chat. People don't really even give a shit what we're saying. They're having their own personal debates going on in there. Anyway, all right, let's let me pull up a few of these here. Big Papa Bill says Bill's defensive line is much better on paper than last season. Not to mention we still have the draft coming up. Sure, they are. I mean, Bosa, Ogunjobi, and Hoecht are in. Who's out? Von Miller's out. That's it, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they
Would
are
you
better.
say on paper it's the best defensive line they've had?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who, because they had your boy Star, who you always hated. Mario Addison was the other edge. And he had Jerry Hughes and then God, who Bookie Basham.
No, this is on paper their best defensive line. I think I would agree with that.
Who has been their biggest? Sorry to interrupt. Who has been their best free agent defensive lineman they've signed? Would you say during the whole Brandon Beane's era? Who would you say?
I would, off the top of my head, without thinking, Leonard Floyd.
Yeah. Vaughn, maybe. I mean, even though he got hurt, then I got kind of, but.
Oh, I mean, he didn't play enough, dude.
Their defensive tackles haven't been that great that they've signed, from the scrap heap.
Not well.
Think about it.
Yes and no. Yes, you're right. They haven't been that great. They haven't been that great in Buffalo. Puna Ford was amazing last year with the Chargers. Tim Settle was really good with the Houston Texans last year. Those guys couldn't even get on the field. Puna couldn't even get on the field, and Tim Settle didn't do shit with this team for whatever reason. So for the defensive linemen have not worked out with Buffalo, and then they go and leave.
Yeah.
And they're just as good, if not way, way better.
But that's Pro Football Focus grades. No one reads those unless they're proving your point.
Yeah.
Started
down that road, man.
Yeah,
Huge says I always thought position fell into certain ranges. QBs, how about numbers here? QBs in 19, running back 20, 35, wide receivers in 80s, etc. It did. A couple years ago, they changed that and wide receivers. I snatching up the single and team numbers.
I like single digits for wide receivers and defensive backs. I kind of like cornerbacks. I think of Deion Sanders a little bit for cornerback. Like in college, he was 2. I think that's a cool look. Wide receivers, I kind of think single digits are cool, but the defensive end linebackers, that I don't think is very cool. No, I don't see that. But the corners, only corner, not safety. Like I don't like 3 Hamlin back there. I want those are 20s, but corners, I like the single digit. Same with wide receivers.
All right. Matt says Brandon Beane stays getting fleeced. That's true. I don't agree with that. When have you concluded that Brandon Beane got fleeced? I don't think you could say Von Miller because he got hurt 8 games into the season and he was really, really good before that. The trades he made, he's made some trades. Let me ask you this. Rasul Douglas, they gave up a 3rd and got a 5th back for Rasul Douglas. And then Amari Cooper this year, they gave up a 3rd. So you got a year and a half or so out of Rasul Douglas, and you got a little less or a little more season with Cooper. I don't think either of those trades were fleeces. They might not have worked out all that great, especially Cooper. I don't know fleeces. I don't think there's been any free agent deals that have been awful signings.
Well, okay, let's go for trades. Wyatt Teller was not a good trade. That was terrible.
Yeah,
and you can say, well, who knew he was going to be that guy? Well, you know what? I'm not making 7 figures like Brandon Beane.
And he got a 5th round. He only got a 5th rounder for Wyatt Teller. So yeah, he did get fleeced. And you want to look at it that way? Cleveland fleeced him on that.
Fleeced him on that. What else? Look, it's funny with Cooper. Throughout the year, I kept kind of complaining about him on this podcast, and every film bro was like, "Oh, he's taking away. They're doubling him, and that means Shakir could be open." And then all of a sudden, when it's obvious Cooper's not signing here, oh yeah, he was dead. He was done. And it's okay, yeah, great. You fuckers.
I wonder if bringing him back is on the radar. Either of those guys I just mentioned, Cooper or Rasul Douglas. I wonder if either of them are on the radar.
Maybe Douglas, if he's dying for
deals, be a money. He's still out there. He's a main corner. Didn't have a good year last year. Not as good as he's been in the past, but I think it's a situation where the Bills say, we're only going to give you this, and he wants this. And no team is obviously giving him the money right now.
Kelvin Benjamin, that was a bad trade. That was a fleece.
That
terrible.
Was. All right.
He was terrible. And then the one, Naheem Hines, Zach Moss didn't. I mean, I know he had the kick returns, but if you remember, they never used Hines ever in the passing game. And it was like, why did you trade for this guy? And Zach Moss was not bad for the Colts. He did some decent things for them. I mean, I don't know if I want to say fleece, but it was not a good trade.
All right. So he's been fleeced a couple times, but to say staying fleeced mean like he constantly is getting fleeced, I just don't buy that. Carl Toman says Jake Camarada just signed a reserve future contract on January 7th. Sam Martin was released on March 6th. Is he the punter, or are we going to be picking up ones like Luke Elsings in the later rounds of the draft? I don't know anything about the draft yet. I haven't gotten into it.
Oh, like you're going to study punters. You're not studying.
I'm not going to study punters.
I'll say this. I'm going to say this. Sorry, sir. They're going to draft a punter because they drafted punt guy. That didn't work out, obviously. So it's in their vocabulary. So I think they're going to draft a guy in like the 6th round.
Okay, I agree with you. They're going to sign. He's not going to get handed. The starting punter may or may not be on this roster, but it's not a given. Let's just put it to Tyler Bass is the kicker. I'd be surprised if they even bring in any real competition for him this year. He's not going anywhere. Punter remains to be seen. Roy says need 90 players for camp. Chenault is just one of them. No big deal. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, he is another former high pick. He was a 2nd-round pick. It was really good his first 2 years. Reminds me a lot of Chase Claypool in that fashion.
Oh, he's going to be the OTA freaking MVP, and everyone's going to hype him up.
Claypool was really good his first 2 years with Pittsburgh. He was a 2nd-round pick, and for different reasons. Like Chase Claypool is more of a character and maturity issue why he's bounced around a lot. But yeah, he's KJ Hamler. Like I said, he's MVS. He's somebody who you might talk a little bit about now, but I won't write him off. You never know, but probably not going to be a big factor. Colleen said, don't know who this Palmer guy is, but if he sucks, then they're going to regret not keeping Mac and giving him a contract. Mac was amazing for our team last year. I'll say this, how good Mac Hollins would be going forward. Mac Hollins is getting up there in age and stuff, but you look at his contract with New England, 2 years, between 8 to 10 million with incentives. He was worth that money to the Buffalo Bills. I'm still very surprised. That may be my biggest, wow. I'm really surprised beyond the Bosa signing of anything this offseason, because even if he's wide receiver 4, even wide receiver 5, a good special teams guy, clubhouse guy, energy guy, good blocker, and a salary cap that keeps going up. So $4 to $5 million for a receiver who does that, who plays special teams, to me was not bad. And from everything I've heard, the Bills did not offer him close to that money. They were trying to sign him for like $3 million a year.
Keep in mind with Mac Hollins that they did phase him out pretty early in the season where he was not getting many wide receiver snaps. And then Keon Coleman got hurt, and that put him kind of back in. And I feel, I'm just putting through their perspective, maybe they were like, yeah, we didn't like you to begin with, but hey, thanks for helping out when Keon got hurt. And Curtis Samuel couldn't figure out the freaking offense. And then
he came up clutch a lot of times. The Kansas City, the AFC Championship game, 3 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown. He was their best receiver in that game. It's just, to me, it felt like a no-brainer. Get that guy. Again, if he only plays 20% of the snaps in special teams, he's still worth that money to me, because if you got to have somebody in a bigger role, he's capable of doing more than what his role would otherwise be. It was very surprising to me, and I thought that was a mistake by Brandon Beane. We'll see if it plays out that way. Which, by the way, that's what led me to think, because they've lost Hollins and Cooper, and they've only signed Palmer. So it leads me to think something else, not saying something big, but something else is probably coming at receiver. And I'm not even counting the Chenault signing. Mezviz says, yes, Sean and Diggs had beef. Okay, in all caps. I know, Maz. What he's alluding to is Stefan and Josh Allen had beef. And we just don't talk about that a lot. It was more about Sean and Diggs. There was a strained relationship between Stefan and Josh as well. I don't know if let me ask you this real quick. What do you think if Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane went to Sean McDermott first, then went to Josh Allen? He went to those two guys and said, "Listen, I could get Stephon back here really cheap. He's motivated. I think he could help us." What do you think? Forget about you and I or the fans. If Brandon went to Sean and Josh for input, what do you think they would say about the possibility of bringing Diggs back?
If they went to Josh and said, "Do you want Diggs back?"
What do you think Josh would say?
Josh is I think he'd say yes. He would be kind of fine with it. I don't think their beef, whatever. I think it was just like ups and downs. I don't think it was. I don't know. I don't freaking know. Yeah, I think it was. I think they were fine at the end. Look, they liked it. Who knows? I don't know.
Stephon gave Josh a lot of credit during the year. In fact, he said that Josh Allen should be MVP during the season. So who knows? A reconciliation is not out of the question.
It's out of the question. You're insane.
All right. Chooch said, I think when Keon got injured, the offense pivoted. When he came off injury, they didn't pivot back because they were so successful. This is the year we'll know more about Keon. That's a great take. And Keon kind of admitted that. He was on a Carmelo Anthony's podcast recently, and he said that he was having success early on. He got hurt, but the offense still stayed really good without him. They pivoted, and when he came back, they weren't really going to change what was working for them. This is the year we'll know a lot more about Keon Coleman because he did show promise as a rookie. He got hurt, and he was a shell of what he was earlier in the season after the injury. And if Josh Palmer is your big signing, that tells me no Amari Cooper or no wide receiver one being signed. That tells me they are counting on Keon Coleman to take a big step.
A big reason why they got Cooper was he was only, $1.5 million on their cap. Mm-hmm. That was a big reason why they got him. So if he was more than that, they would not have gotten him, in my opinion. And I don't see that. That's why I don't see them. I think this is it. I think they're going to count on Coleman, and they're going to count on Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid comes through, and Dawson Knox, and Samuel. Like, it's good. They all want to jerk off all over the everyone eats crap. And, that's probably what they're going to do. I think this entire offseason, we've seen it already. They have invested a lot of money in that defensive line. I think it's going to continue in the draft when we get to that in a month. I think they're going to go for that even more. They want new bodies in there. This is Sean McDermott's baby, and this baby has sucked. His defense has not been great the last couple of years, and I think he wants another shot at it, and he wants to get his guys in there because they kind of have ignored it for the last couple of years, and I think this is where, like, you've seen it so far. They signed a guy who was on steroids. Not steroids.
I get it. I agree. To me, that's going back to them counting on Keon Coleman. I think if they felt like they cannot count on Keon Coleman, they would address wide receiver in a much bigger way than they have because I think they're counting on him. Mark said McDermott is reluctant to play rookies. It is painfully obvious. I only half agree with that. Earlier in the show, I just ran down a bunch of players who had significant roles as rookies. So
you ignored the reasoning, though. They had a lot of role because the depth sucked, and those are the early teams.
All right, fair, true or not?
It's true.
Well, they still played.
Okay, but there was not enough depth. Devin Singletary had a good Singletary had a good rookie year because Frank Gore was in front of him. That's it. Okay, it wasn't
great depth right now.
Okay,
do you think Daquan Jones or AJ Epinesa are great depth right now? I don't.
Hey, I'm just gonna say this: Kira Elam, when they drafted him, they did not like him from day one, and all he had to do was beat out a rookie. He had to beat out Christian Benford, who was a rookie, I think, that year. And I don't even remember who the other guy was, but that was like
Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson were the
quarterbacks. That was it. It wasn't great, Bob. It wasn't
a terrible pick. And what concerns me with the corner position right now, we didn't talk about this at all today. Maybe we will next week or soon enough. But Dane Jackson's your starter. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. Okay. And if things stay that way until the draft, kind of like 2022, Brandon Beane sort of pigeonholed himself into needing a corner at the top of the draft. I feel like the trajectory right now is similar, where if the NFL draft was tomorrow, Joe, the Bills are taking a corner probably with that first pick.
Yeah.
They need him to start because Dane Jackson is a depth guy. That's what he is. He's the DeMar Hamlin of safeties, maybe even worse.
I'm going to tell you this again. If Christian Benford It really depends what happens with him. If they want to extend him, I go back to if he's the same as Trey White. When Trey White was here, the opposite corner was not very good at all. And I'll go through the names again. EJ Gaines, Kevin Johnson, Josh Norman, Levi Wallace. That's like a 5-6 years of what they had. Okay.
Sure.
And so I'm not going to sit there and go, they're going to do that if they're going through their history. Now, maybe you're right. Like, okay, hey, they're going to go and they better draft some guy right away. But I think it depends on Benford.
Hot take alarms going off in New York. Look, man, 2022, they needed a corner, and that's what they did. That's all I'm saying is I could see them right now.
But Elam, when they drafted Elam, I don't know. I saw people had him in the first round, then the second, and then
Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson were the corners.
Okay, but no one. It wasn't EJ Man. Elam was not EJ. Look, I'm going by what the draft dork said. It was not an EJ Manuel where AJ Manuel was slated to go in the third round. Like they reached for him with a cornerback. Elam was a guy that all the draft nerds had him towards the end of the first round.
Yes,
he wasn't. And anyone who's saying that now is bullshitting.
They're on the same. I'm not here to talk about how good Kyrie Elam was or wasn't. I'm telling you that's the trajectory.
Okay, but you're saying, oh man, they're going to be so desperate they're going to have to reach for a cornerback. Elam wasn't a reach if you're basing it on what the fucking draft nerds said.
They're going to draft corners in the first round that won't be reaches either. That's not my point. Name a guy. Joe Pinzone, Patrick Moran, Ron Harris, whoever the hell it may be, whoever that corner is, there's going to be corners in that slot area. They're going to do the same thing that they did in 2022 as things stand right now. They're going to take a corner. Whether I'm not saying it's going to be a guy that's a reach, but the position could be a reach because they're going to have to take one. Ariolo Grande, does the salary that Ogunjobi loses for 6 games get subtracted from his cap hit? Yes, I don't know the schematics of that though, but I did read that the salary cap hit gets adjusted because of the 6 games, like what his salary that he loses, stuff like that. So his cap hit won't be the same as before the suspension. Look, last one here from Mike Hardo. If you've noticed a theme, Joe, we've done probably 6-7 comments with Ogunjobi tonight. They're all negative. Ogunjobi was a bad signing even without the suspension. We already had Oliver Carter, Phillips, and Jefferson. Last thing we needed was another McDermott 3 technique. All right, he said had, so saying in past tense, because I was going to say Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson are not Buffalo Bills. They're free agents. Right now they got Oliver and Carter. But the whole very mid 3 techniques kind of feels like what Ogunjobi is right now. This is a very unpopular signing with Bills fans right now. I guess you getting that sense, aren't you?
I think getting suspended doesn't help, at all. And
no,
we'll see. Look, sorry, as I've said before, the way they have been as talent evaluators when it comes to defensive tackles and defensive line, it has been a very, 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 very mixed bag. And it's been guys who, as we went through with Cello and Ford and those guys, Vernon Butler, and then Jefferson. Remember, Jefferson, he was not good the first time around. Then he came back, and I think he got like 1 sack, and no one cared because he was worth nothing. But they paid him an okay. And as I said, this is going to be a big, like a year from now, we're going to really, really either praise Brandon Beane as a talent evaluator and McDermott because he's in there too, or we're going to really trash the shit out of him. Because there are a lot of new guys that you and I can like sit there with a pen and go and write notes about like, where's this guy? Where's this guy? Because they spent money, and there's no denying that. They didn't spend nearly as much money on defensive linemen, aside from Von Miller, as they have in the past. And I think it's going to be a really, that's what's going to be interesting about this for the most part. But it is effed up a little bit because, like I said, I don't know much about the players they signed outside of Bosa. Like, I know of him more than the other guys, and I was surprised how much they spent. It's funny because they went from they were signing like the younger guys with Hoecht and then Palmer, and then they got like the 1-year mercenary guys with Bosa and the Pittsburgh guys. So
let me throw a couple up here real quick here. Ralph Wilson Sr. says the offense protected the defense as good as possible. Time for the defense to stand on their own 22 legs. I agree with you there. Mark says you should have you should want your first round pick to start right away. Absolutely. Whatever position it is, they should start. Also, they had good safeties then. We don't have good safeties now.
That's a good comp. You're right, Mark, because they did have Poyer and Hyde, and they could not worry. They could have Levi fucking Wallace out on their corner, and they don't have those. It's a very good point, Mark.
You could definitely protect those guys a little bit better. And then lastly, Elam wasn't a reach. He's just a bust. Yeah. That's very fair. He wasn't a reach. They needed a corner. And you're right, because he was projected to go later first, top of the second round. Yeah. So that the pick wasn't a reach, just the
it could have been a panic because he, allegedly he can't play zone. He's better at man-to-man in the Bills.
Sure. Last comment, then we're definitely going to get out of here. Patrick Conti says, big money to Greg Rizzo. He needs to be counted on now amongst the elites. That's a fair point. I don't even think I mentioned him once unless it was in passing this whole show. Yeah, you had Bosa, you had Ogunjobi, you had Michael Hoecht. End of the day, Ed Oliver, and especially Greg Rizzo, just got to continue getting better. Greg Rizzo needs to get to that double-digit sack mark this year. He's had 8. That's been his career best through 4 years. He does a lot of things well. Bad game against Kansas City aside, he needs to get to the quarterback a little bit more. The more effective he is, the better Joey Bosa on the other side will be as well. All right.
Okay, we're done.
Man, this is a good one. Fun, different. I liked your segment.
We're doing it again next week, the true and false. I got it already. I got it already planned out. and we're doing Cobra Kai next week. Enough of this bullshit. Okay, I already forgot what happened. It
could be a good week. It could be a good week. Look, this was week 1 of free agency. Dude, I'm tired. Honestly, I do a show 5 days a week. I'm sick tired of talking about Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoecht right now with Joe Bosa. I've been doing it literally for 5-6 episodes now in a row. So
people, this is how I told you guys earlier in the chat that Pat wanted me on multiple times last year. He even broached me to take a show from him during the week because he was so exhausted and tired, and he must have been really drunk or I don't know. Because I'm like, Pat would never give me a podcast on this platform, and I would say no to it in 2 seconds. But that's how desperate they are.
By the way, to reference your true or false thing, Chooch said, Pat, will keep this simple. Would you rather do a Sopranos episode, watch with us, or The Office? It's seriously, honestly, I don't want to get into another tangent here because we're done. You can flip a coin. I know it's easy. But
let me ask this real quick. What had a better final season? Sopranos did. You can't say The Office final season was great.
I thought The Office ended perfectly. I love the way it wrapped. But the last itself was boring towards the end, but I thought the last 3 or 4 episodes of The Office was a perfect way to end the series.
I don't remember. They were on a
Dwight got married.
Dwight got married.
Yeah, they got married.
Yeah, but it was still it wasn't as good.
Jim got his dream job with in Texas. Pam wanted to move there. Everything worked out for everybody. Andy was getting laughed at because of that moment on that singing show, but he became really good.
Creed went to jail. I love Creed. Went to
jail, so
Creed was awesome. I loved Creed. Creed was my favorite.
I think Oscar became a congressman or something with politics. It was just a great way to wrap it. But yeah, The Sopranos look, they're different animals, man. One's a legitimant real feel. The other's a feel good documentary, man.
The true false of you. I don't want to care. It's a TV show. It's on TV. It's on TV. It's a TV show. But we get it. The Office is your favorite of all time.
It is. It really is. I want to thank everybody. 600 strong on a Sunday night on the live chat. A whole weekend of free agency. Appreciate that. Appreciate Joe. Appreciate everybody listening, watching. Be back with a brand new show, doing a Podback episode. So stay tuned for that tomorrow.